What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm sure a lot of you remember this video that I posted over a year ago about the attorney Katherine Henry, who was arrested in Allegan County, Michigan. That video got 3.5 million views. It went crazy viral. And ever since that happened, I've been in communication with her about doing an interview. But I told her that I was very inexperienced using StreamYard. And once I figured it out, I definitely wanted to interview her. Well, here recently, I've been dabbling with StreamYard. I got a couple of interviews underneath me. So I invited her to come on and talk about the outcomes of what happened and where we're at now in the updates. And she quickly informed me that she did not want to get into that because it's still pending and she did not want the officials in Allegan County to know her legal strategies and what was going on. And she also informed me that ever since she moved to Florida, that most of her time and energy has went into fighting the city of Ormond Beach. And when she told me her story, I was absolutely shocked. It sounded like a story that somebody told living in 1930s Nazi Germany. And I'm not kidding. What they have done to this woman is no less than targeting and harassing her. But what my big question is why? Why is the city of Ormond Beach doing this to her? And we're going to get into that in this interview. You guys are going to be shocked. As always, please comment and leave your opinions down below because this is still an open question. Why? What is going on? Now, I will point this out. When we started this interview, I was fully prepared to talk about what happened in Michigan. I had a list of questions to ask her. So when it switched gears into going on in Florida, I'd only heard a little bit about what was going on in Florida. So it really messed up my game plan with the interview. I didn't have any questions prepared on what was going on in Florida. But Katherine is so smart and so articulate that it just flowed. Let's get into the interview with attorney Katherine Henry. You guys enjoy it. I wanted to talk about that stuff that happened in Michigan first. What's going on with that? The last time um, I know you. I know the last I heard, you'd beat the case, and then you were working on the civil suit. How's that working? How did that play out?
Well, this part I wouldn't want live streamed because I don't want them to know. But
So you left Michigan. When you left Michigan, was it because of what happened there, or was it for other personal reasons?
well, my husband and I grew up in Orlando, and we're an hour and a half from Orlando right now. Um, my husband and I talked about moving down here and had picked where we would move before COVID started, but we were going to wait till our older three kids were done with high school. And so that would have been summer of 2021. And then I had tons of people, like thousands and thousands of people all across Michigan that wanted me to run for governor. If not, then at least AG. And I was considering staying, but when my case, I was doing some interlocutory appeals along the way. And when the second one came back, and they didn't say I was wrong, they just gave me a one sentence, well, we don't know if we really have to get involved at this point, but like come back at the end of the case kind of thing. I'm like, F that. I called my husband that day when I got that order, and I was screaming and crying and all kinds of stuff. And I just said, that's it. Get me out of here. Get me to Florida because I'm done. I'm done with this stupid ass state that doesn't know anything about the Constitution, doesn't know anything about how to follow the law, where government officials get to trample all over the rights of the people, and it doesn't matter. Like, get me the hell out. I'm done.
Yeah.
So, but
So
original plan had nothing to do with the case.
okay. So has Florida been any better as far as your rights and them being constitutional? And
Um, I haven't been criminally charged with anything, so I guess in that sense. But the city of Ormond Beach, they're a bunch of dumb idiots that don't know anything about their own ordinances, let alone law or the Constitution. So I think they're starting to figure it out because yesterday we just got served with more. So my case, it's a supposed ordinance violation for our property because we put stuff on our own property without their permission.
wow.
And Anyway, so this case has been dragging on since 2022 is when it started. And so the initial stuff is with a magistrate. And then I filed things I needed to, things that nobody ever files. And I mean, my hearing lasted, I don't know, 3 hours. And, you know, we had witnesses and the whole 9 yards. And normally you don't have anything. You don't have objections. You don't have motions. You don't have anything.
Yeah.
But obviously I'm not going to not fight when they're not doing what's right. So, so then when we got the order and it was full of BS, I appealed to the next round, which was the circuit court. And then the judge sat on that for a very long time. We finally had oral arguments January of this year. And then she waited until March to issue her ruling. And I won part of it where they're not allowed to physically come on my property and tear up our fence, our pavers, and our 2 shipping containers. But because they thought they could do that.
Yeah. That was my next question. What did y'all put on the property that they're mad about? But go ahead.
Parking pavers. Because this is crazy. I mean, you should really take a look at my petition that I filed this time, because I think it really explains things in a lot better detail.
Yeah.
And I could send you. So the court made me. So now we're at the 5th District Court of Appeals, and the court made me. In this round of appeals, the court clerk, not the court itself, not a judge, made me amend my whole petition 4 times, no joke, before they would docket it and leave it on there. But the last thing they made me do was take out all my pictures and graphics and like stuff like, you know, that made it clear what we were talking about. They made me take out and just put them in the 600-page appendix. Like, right, like a judge is really going to flip through and look at all that stuff. So anyway, pissed me off. But if I can remember, I'll send you the link to the original one I submitted, because that still has the pictures and stuff and makes it easier to follow along. But
yeah,
so it's literally the city of Ormond Beach says you can't park on grass. You have to have off-street parking. You have to have so many spaces of off-street parking. And each off-street parking space has to be at least 9 feet wide. Unless you're a duplex, then it has to be at least 12 feet wide. And it has to be either pavers, concrete, or asphalt. And if you need to add an addition to a driveway, we started with 2 very tiny driveways from 1949. Then you can't go towards the middle of your property. You have to go towards the side property lines. I mean, very specific stuff. I did all that. And then they're like, well, no, you can't have that. And you got to tear them up and you got to have them, like, they can't be all the way to the side property line. I'm like, then I can't follow your ordinances. I mean, if I'm not following, and they made that up, but I'm like, I couldn't follow your ordinances then, because there's literally 18 feet. And if I can't go this way from the far edge of the north edge of the driveway, then I have to go the other direction, and there's literally 18 feet. And to park 2 cars, your ordinance says I have to have 9 feet for each car, and it has to be pavers. So, gee, I mean, if I didn't have the pavers and they would say, or I had partial pavers underneath a car and partial grass, they'd say, oh, well, we're going to give you, tickets for every single time you park your car on grass. I mean, it just, so the whole
crazy
thing is, and privacy fence on our own property that goes in our backyard. You can't have a privacy fence that's 6 feet tall into the front yard, which we don't. It starts at the house and goes back. It's on our property. And they're saying that it's designed backwards because the pretty side, she called it the good side. The good side is facing the neighbors. Now, the good side, or the bad side, I guess, is facing the neighbors. The sides and the back, the lateral posts.
Yeah, that's the way the fences always are.
So nothing stops them from putting in their own fence. In fact, the one neighbor to the north has a fence, so they can't even see my fence when they're in their own backyard, but whatever. And their fence is put in without a permit, but that's okay. It's just my fence.
That's what I was going to ask you. Are they imposing these same tyrannical ordinances on your neighbors in your surrounding area, or are they just picking on you?
Oh, they are just picking on me, because I'm going to have to send you that brief. So in fact, I'm going to open something on my screen here so I can look at it while we're talking. But and this isn't the newest one, but I'm going to go, okay. So Where did it go? Here we go. So this is information. So I went around, right? When they said, okay, you have issues with pavers, with these 2 shipping containers, which are brand new. You can't even, nobody notices that they're there unless I tell them. They're like, oh yeah, okay, cool. And then even then you only see 1. You don't see 2. But
Yeah.
anyway, they're in my backyard. They're not harming anybody. And they're saying they can't be within 20 feet of the property line. And I have an 88-foot wide property. So if I can't be within 20 feet of a side property line or 25 feet of a rear property line, I'm going to show you something in a minute, but it's crazy. So, and then they're saying I can't have shipping containers at all. Get this. They literally testified. The building inspector testified. I can't have a shipping container in my backyard because the Florida Building Code, the state law, does not regulate them. So therefore, they're incapable of being permitted. So I can't have one. Wait a minute. So the government doesn't regulate something, so therefore I can't have it? What?
You can't own anything unless they can tax it and regulate it.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So we have those 3 things, right? The pavers and the setbacks, and then the shipping containers and the setbacks and the fence. And so I started walking my neighborhood at the time. Now this is only from the time we moved in, say November 2021 to February 2023. So not even a year and a half, where I had just I walked the neighborhood, and I live on a barrier island. So east and west is ocean and river. And that's 0.25 miles. So I just figured, well, I'll go 0.25 miles north and south then at, roads that go that way, perpendicular to the ocean and whatnot. And I will just have a 1/4 mile radius then, and we'll just see what we see. Either Google Maps or literally just walking around. Made myself a super OCD spreadsheet, so I had it on my phone and I could do drop downs and select. And so that's what I did. And we're talking, some of these properties are owned by the city or the city attorney's office or state troopers or Ormond Beach Police Department or Volusia County Sheriff's Department or city commission members, county council members. I mean, so it's, yeah. So anyway.
Is there a homeowners association in that neighborhood too?
Nope.
No? It's just
I'm not
city.
I won't live where there's an HOA.
Yeah, but, I don't blame you.
So fences, there's 69 properties that I found just by looking around. Now, this isn't like thorough, like I'm not on people's property. I'm walking on the sidewalk. 69 properties out of 461. So 15% of properties have an issue with the permit where it was either put in without a permit or an issue with the fence, put in without a permit or something else about that. It's the wrong height to get a permit or whatever. Then the sheds and other structures and things with the setbacks or even shipping containers themselves, totally remodeled without a permit, like gutted and remodeled without a permit, or totally just put up brand new sheds without a permit, or they're within the property line in a way that's not okay. That is, there's 279 of those in the 461 properties. So that's 61% of properties in my little neighborhood that have them that aren't, they're okay. I'm not. But this is the kicker, the pavers and the parking areas where you have people parking on grass, which you can't do according to the code, or stone or mulch, can't do either one of those, or their pavers or concrete goes right up to the property line. That is 457 times that happens in an area where there's only 461 properties. So 99% of properties in my neighborhood are violating one of the pavers or parking ordinances, and yet they're only coming after me.
So they're targeting you.
I think that screams equal protection. So
why do you think that they're targeting you, Katherine? Because it's obvious they are. They're picking on you, only you. Why do you think they're doing that?
They started this actually started in 2021, in summer of 2021, when we first got down here. We were buying another house, and it had been a foreclosure. Some investors bought it. It was 2 sisters. They're psychopaths. I mean, no joke, psychopaths. And they're super wealthy, super connected. Long story short is they thought that they were going to scam us. And we had this contract where we were going to have to go in, and they gutted the kitchen right when we were in the process of signing the purchase agreement with them. And they're like, oh, well, now you're going to have to put in a new kitchen before you'll be able to get it appraised. And then you have to do this. And like, after we sign the papers, she walks me around and she's like, oh, you'll have to do this and this and this and this and this before it'll be appraised. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, and if you don't get it done, then, you know, any improvements that you did, then they just belong to us. And I'm like, okay. Well, anyway, we were living on the property and we're days before closing, and they realized that we're probably actually going to make it. So they had some person that they know in the city make a report about, the ironic thing is, about 20-foot dumpsters that had been done with like no permits and all this stuff. Well, we never had the dumpsters. The dumpsters were from what they did right before we got possession of the property. They never pulled permits. And the contract that they put together that we signed said that they were supposed to pull the permits, not us. And they were supposed to close out all the permits, and they were supposed to take care of everything to do with the permits. So they never got the permits, had somebody do this call. So then we had a stop work order. The city issued that. We weren't allowed to do anything. So I went in and I'm like, what the heck's going on? And I'm like, I'll apply for the permits, whatever you need. Tell me what you need. And they're like, oh, well, the owner said that you can't get permits. And we had one permit already pending to put in all new AC with a company, and the rest of the work we were doing. And the owners canceled that permit and then denied us the ability to get any other permits. And then they tried to change the locks on us while we were there. My daughter and I were in the living room, and they tried to come in and change the locks. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
It's unreal.
So they were psychos. They sent stuff to the city. In fact, the same city attorney that's dealing with us on this case, she was involved in that, and she read their stuff, and she started calling us squatters and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, you stupid bitch. No, that's not what's happening here. Like, you
were in the process of buying this house when they tried to change the locks?
Yeah. So they made sure we couldn't go to closing because they refused to go to closing. They weren't going to sell us the house. They just wanted to scam us. So they made sure a stop work order was put in so we couldn't get the last of it done, so we couldn't have the appraisal done in time. Wow. But then in the meantime, and then they tried suing us saying we didn't go to closing. They filed before closing was scheduled. And I'm like, that's not how this works. That shows your intent to not go to closing. So we had a countersuit. And we ended up finding an alternate lender. So we still had our original traditional lender. And then I had another private person that was willing to lend us the money just to be done with it, not needing an appraisal, anything. And we could close like instantly. And they refused to do that too. And the whole thing was like insane. We had an attorney. I don't hire other attorneys, but I'm not a Florida attorney. I was like, I'm going to have this, paid him a few $1,000s. He died in a freak scuba diving accident while our case was pending, and right before an emergency hearing that they called. And then the court wouldn't let me move the emergency hearing to get another attorney.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then the judge was so distraught about our attorneys passing because they were family friends that she couldn't even come. She was no longer on our case. Instead, we were assigned a fill-in judge who admitted on the record that he knew nothing about this type of law and was just going with whatever the other attorney was telling him. And I'm like, oh, well, I know about these cases now because you guys made me stay up for 4 days straight. I've read every Florida statute, every court rule, every court case that would be relevant here. I could fill you in right now. Shut me down. Wouldn't let me go into any of it. So anyway, this whole case has been
nightmare.
They were threatening to murder us, the sellers, and then a neighbor across the street were literally had a firearm and were threatening to kill us. And the police wouldn't do anything about it. And then when they got temporary possession while we were still going through the lawsuit, and I had a countersuit, for them to have to sell the damn home to us. And all of our property was there. And we had $60,000 of wewindows and doors and electrical and all this kind of stuff. And so anyway, as soon as they got temporary possession, they weren't supposed to do anything. They rolled the dumpsters right back up and started filling them. And I'm like, what are they tearing out? What are they doing? No permits. And I kept telling the city, like, what are you doing? There's a stop work order, do something. Oh no, we're not going to get involved now. Oh, you're going to get involved when it was me there. But now that it's them, you're not going to get involved? Really? And Ormond Beach PD wouldn't do anything about the threats or anything else. Like literally, Ormond Beach was like, no, we're not here for you. So yeah, it was personal from the beginning.
This sounds like it could be a movie. It's crazy.
A lot of my life is like that.
There's no way I could deal with that kind of stress, man. You got to be a really strong person. So I applaud you.
Overlapping. That started when I was literally in the midst of the trial for the other case that you're asking me about. So from a motel on A1A, I had to prepare for trial.
Yeah. And you were already so invested in this house that you couldn't just leave.
Yeah. And we ended up agreeing with them. We got our, not agreeing, but like we ended up settling, of course, after our attorney died and the court, didn't care about the law or didn't make them post a bond for their injunction to get us out of the house temporarily, anything. Totally violated every law, every court rule that exists to protect people like us.
Yeah.
And so we ended up at least getting our $5,000 deposit back. And but we were out thousands of dollars. I mean, thousands. And what we had in the house, they wouldn't let us come and get it. Because we had 23 hours to get out of the house. So I'm not sure how that's even remotely reasonable. We had a brand new refrigerator, $2,500, whatever it was. We have pictures of them throwing it out, like out the front door. We hired for $6,000. We had to hire 2 men in a truck because this is, like 18 hours notice or something. And they wouldn't even let the movers go into the house to get our belongings.
So y'all moved out of this house.
We moved out of that house because they were threatening. They sent us a notice that they were going to dispose of all of our property that we had left in there.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not legal. But I was like, you know what? I need my stuff. I'm not going to let them destroy everything. So let's salvage what we can. And
I'm a little bit confused. Is this the same house that the city ordinances were messing with y'all about over the fences and the pavers? And
no.
Okay.
That was the house that we were buying in 2021, but the same city of Ormond Beach. So I was questioning about why would they be coming after me? Well, because they started with this bullshit in 2021 and then
they followed you over to your new home.
Yep. And I told them, they knew exactly that we were the same people because when they called me about it, I was like, oh, no, you didn't care about permits over there. Permits obviously don't apply here.
Yeah.
How this works.
That's crazy. It sounds like you made a deal with the devil or like you're dealing with some mafia people. I mean, it's just insane. It's an insane story. I had no idea that this was going on. A lot of this is, I heard a little bit about this story on the internet, but nothing to the degree of what you're telling me now. And I'm just in shock, man. That's crazy. So what else? So where are you at with the house you're at now? What do they want you to take up the fence and the pavers you put in? I mean, what do they want you to do?
Yeah. So they originally last year when we had the magistrate hearing, so Florida law it breaks things down into 2 stages. So if you violate an ordinance, first they have to have a hearing to prove that you violated an ordinance. And then you have an order finding violation. And if anybody's going to be watching this that's in Florida, if you're curious, or if you're not in Florida and you're still curious, it's Florida statute 162.07. Then what they're supposed to do under Florida state law, and quite frankly, the city's own ordinances that they don't follow, you're supposed to go in and do, after the period of time that the people are given to do any remedies, if there is a violation, then you're supposed to have the city inspector, building inspector, whatever, go out and see, okay, well, was it done? Is it not done? Whatever. And then issue an affidavit to then either have another hearing or something other procedural where they then have another process to end up having another order that then sets fines and fees and that turns into liens, that can turn into liens on your house, your personal property, everything. So what they did in this case is the magistrate literally ignored all the laws that I brought up, everything I said. And every time I talked about a law or a constitutional provision, he said, well, do you have lots of cases that talk about where they followed that law? And I'm like, I didn't think I needed to tell you in this hearing cases when the law is the law. But anyway, I submitted my stuff ahead of time as well. And city didn't give me anything until literally 9:58, 2 minutes before 10 o'clock hearing. They handed me hundreds of pieces of paper and they're like, here you go. And then that's what they were planning on introducing as evidence, photos that they obtained illegally, all kinds of crazy stuff was happening. And so anyway, at the end of this hearing, then the magistrate doesn't give me another opportunity to speak. No, what he does is he rolls right from finding I'm in violation of all these, the pavers, the shipping containers, and the privacy fence without a permit. That was the only finding, that I put those in without a permit. But then rolls right into ordering fines and fees and liens. And I'm like, I didn't get a chance to object. I didn't get a chance to say anything. They didn't serve me with notice they were going to be doing that. And the law does not allow them to do that all in one. And so I immediately, when we got the paper orders, I then filed with him a motion to get relief from that order, according to the court rules and whatever. Never acknowledged it. I have a software that shows that they opened it like 50 times and none of them acknowledged they even received my motion, let alone, made a motion. So in the meantime, I filed an appeal with the next level at circuit court. And I asked them to issue a stay because not only were they imposing fines and liens, he supposedly was trying to give them permission to physically come onto my property last April, tear out my pavers, my privacy fence, my 2 shipping containers, and be immune from any damages that they caused in tearing all that stuff up. Now, keep in mind, it doesn't even say, for example, which pavers. There were already pavers on my property. They never testified at all about which pavers had to come out. So
you're saying they testified. You're talking about the city?
Yeah. We had
the city's claiming to be a victim of this.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make any sense. But yeah, go continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Continue on.
So this
is amazing, by the way. I'm just I can't believe it.
They thought they could come onto my property. I mean, we have a takings clause for a reason, and it doesn't comport with any state law, any constitutional provision that allows them to come onto my property. No law allowed them to do that. So I got a stay issued by the circuit court last, at the beginning, like April 3rd or something, and of last year. And then we filed our briefs and our appeal stuff, and we finally had oral argument in January. And then she issued her decision in March of this year. And in that, she said, yes, they're not allowed to come on to the Henry's property, so we won that part. But then she said, but they can do fines and fees and liens that never end. Literally a fine every day for the rest of our lives.
What?
Oh yeah. I mean, it would be by the time, we're into retirement age or whatever. I mean, it'll be over $1 million and it doesn't matter. I mean, our house doesn't even cost $1 million, but
so they put fines and fees on you already?
That's what they tried to do in those orders from March of last year. Okay. And then the magistrate in March of this year, or the circuit court judge, affirmed those orders this year in March. So in
affirmed, April, what's that mean? You're using legal words that I don't know.
She approved of that part of the magistrate's orders.
That's what I thought it meant, but I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay. She approved of them fining and feeing you. Okay. Yeah.
Now, the magistrate and the circuit court judge totally ignored when I talked about that there's ordinances that prohibit me from even obtaining these permits. The fact that the city testified that they wouldn't issue me the permits for made up reasons. I mean, I specify what the made up reasons are and talk about that the city code does not allow them to do that. State law does not allow them to do that, but they still would deny me anyway. And that the city code and state law don't even require me to have the permits. And I talk about where in the code and where in state law it talks about those. And they ignored those arguments completely. So anyway, here we are. April, so this earlier this month, I filed the next round of appeals with the 5th District Court of Appeals. And it was frustrating, but anyway, we got it filed and accepted. And the city has been ordered to respond within 20 days, which will actually be this Friday. That's their deadline to file their response. And in the meantime, last week, I also filed a motion for a stay, meaning I was asking, which I had to file back down in the circuit court because her March order took away the stay and allowed the fines to start again. So I asked for a stay to be imposed for a lot of reasons, but for one reason is the initial order for fines was done illegally. They didn't do it in 2 separate stages. There's no 2 separate orders. And we weren't given due process. We weren't given notice and opportunity to be heard on any of that. And the state law actually requires, if they're going to set fines, there's 3 different things that that the magistrate has to consider. And he didn't consider any of that. There was no testimony about it, no argument, nothing. He just gave them exactly what they asked for. So anyway, I asked her, because of all that, to push pause and give us the stay while my next appeal is pending. And in the meantime, there's also a court rule that says I won at least part of my case with the appeal. And whether I asked for 15 things or I asked for one thing, I actually won on one of the major things, which is they're not allowed to come on my property. So I'm allowed to be awarded the costs of the court filing fees and the transcripts, and it's a little over $2,000. And so I have to file that motion with the magistrate. They refuse to acknowledge the fact that I filed that motion with them. So they're denying me access when that's, according to the court rules, I am legally required to file that motion with the magistrate, and they literally won't even acknowledge that I have filed it that way. They're not allowing me to file anything. So meanwhile, yesterday we got in the mail, we got 3 certified letters that supposedly said, actually have them right here. It's a 1-page thing for each of the 3 cases, the pavers, shipping containers, and the fence. And the wording doesn't say what this hearing is for. It doesn't say anything about what they're planning on doing. It sounds like they're trying to redo the entire hearing that we already had, which they can't do that. And the magistrate still hasn't rescinded his other orders. So what would be the point? Well, anyway, I asked for clarification in an email to them last night, and it looks like we got confirmation from one of the city attorneys that they plan on having this hearing to be the hearing to set fines and fees, but they want to try to go back to last March, a year ago March, when that was already ordered. There was already an order in place that hasn't been rescinded, and that was paused. They cannot collect on that time. And now they're trying to act like that didn't happen, and they're going to do a whole new order to go back in time for those fines.
My goodness.
So, and then the fact that the motion or their notice doesn't tell me it's about fines, it doesn't tell me anything, it lacks due process, because how am I supposed to prepare and show up and have my own evidence or my own witnesses if I don't even know what the heck we're doing there? So luckily I have good intuition, and apparently I know the laws better than they do. And I spelled it out for them. You need to clarify. Are you trying to make this a hearing under 162.09 to set fines and liens? Is that what you're attempting to do? So they pretty much confirmed that's what it was. But of course, not taking responsibility for their terrible lack of communication and denying my due process rights. So anyway, it's insane. I wanted to show you something. I don't know. Can I
give you my opinion real quick while you're looking for whatever you're looking for? And this is just my opinion. And these people, they don't care about the actual laws, and they don't care if you win this in the long run, and they don't care if you're right. In my opinion, it seems like they're punishing you for something, and it doesn't matter to them whether you win or not. But this whole process that you're going through, that is the punishment. I've been through it. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because whether you win or not, look at all the crap they've already put you through.
Exactly. Exactly. This is ridiculous.
I'm wondering why they're targeting you. Like, who are these people that you had these problems with in that house before? Are they like politically connected to the city of Ormond Beach? I mean,
no, because they don't actually live here. So they're from, one of them lives in Colorado, and the other one lived like across the state somewhere a few hours away. This was just an investment property for them.
Yeah.
So
I don't think this followed you from Michigan, do you? Because these political people, they're in contact through states and cities and stuff. It's like a big gang, you know?
Yeah. I mean, anything's possible, but my instinct is not that that has anything to do with it. But
yeah.
And I haven't done much of anything political down here. You know, I'm not involved with, you know, the arts or the, you know, state party or anything like that. I don't think I'm able to add it. If you're able to add the picture that
I'm doing this on my iPad, but like, if you send me these documents when I edit this and publish the video, I'll put them up.
Well, okay. So you can't.
Oh, you did send it to me. I see it.
It's down.
I'm kind of a rookie with this stuff, so bear with me. Let me see. Oh, there we go. Add to stage. There it is.
Okay.
Cool.
So
I'm learning.
I'm going to let's see. I'm going to make this bigger though, so it's easy to see. I just gotta. Oh, wrong direction.
Yeah, man, this is insane. I feel sorry for you, man. I really do. This is crazy. I could not deal with this. You must be a very strong person.
It's been rough. I'll say that. Man. But so oops, that's way too big. Okay, so this is just showing the summary. Oh, come on. I have like two sizes here. Okay, this is just showing the summary of the numbers I gave you earlier, the 15%. So this is just, I mean, this is not by in any stretch of the imagination all that's out there. This is just literally what the city never argued with. They never said these aren't violations and they don't exist. It's just that they didn't, you know, they're allowing all these violations to occur and it's no big deal. So anyway, the 15% of the fences, 99% of properties with pavers or parking area issues, 61% with sheds or structure issues. I mean, big deal. So anyway, this is, I know it's kind of probably hard to see.
No, I can see it.
I'm going to move my bookmarks over a little bit, make it a little bit easier. But so this is what it looks like. We have, it's 1/4 acre property. It's not very big. So that's a neighbor's house and this is a neighbor's house.
Is that the ocean in the background?
No, this is, well, that's the sky right there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The ocean is actually, when I'm taking this picture, the ocean is to my back.
Okay.
So we can't see the ocean. We're a block and a half in, but anyway, so the driveways are right here. These are the original driveways. And then these other pictures kind of show the reddish pavers. Those are what we added. So where my car is parked there, and then this area here, that's what we added to the property line. And then our fence is right here. And then the shipping containers, you can barely see that they're there. But
this is unbelievable. I just cannot believe that they're harassing you over this.
So this is something that's crazy. So I was telling you that you can't put property or you can't put pavers in the middle, right? You can't, if you have to extend your driveway, you have to put them towards the side property lines according to the city's code. This red shows where we can't, because there's a little black line here on each of the driveways that shows, because it used to be a duplex. So there's 2 driveways. The black line shows where the pavement is, where the concrete is poured.
Yeah.
But it's only 8 feet. And the orange shows that the city requires at least 9 feet of width for a parking space. So we literally can't park a single vehicle on our property unless we add the pavers here.
Yeah.
And then over here, we only have 9 more feet because the total between these two is 18. And so the yellow would be the other 9 feet for the other car. They're saying, and this is not in city code, but they're saying that our house does not allow us to have pavers within 3 feet of the property line, which is this blue.
Yeah.
Like what? So I have to have what's in yellow, but I can't have it where it's blue. That's a problem. You guys are clearly over-regulating, if that were true. But and then this side, it's a little bit bigger, so there's a little bit more. But either way, we still had to put pavers because the orange is where you have to have the width to park on, but it's the black line where the concrete stops. And then
so the orange is where you put the pavers, right?
Well, the pavers, so the black line right here, the black line towards this line right here is where we put the pavers. And same thing from the black line all the way to the side, because it's from where the driveway was this way.
That's right. You got to go toward the property line, not the other way. Okay.
Yep. So then
I'm trying to keep up with you, Catherine.
Here's the picture. This is the stuff they made me take out of my actual brief, my petition. This is ridiculous because just like your questions, the judges would be like, well, this doesn't make sense just reading it. We need pictures. And anyway, so this is looking the opposite direction though, but you can tell this is where the pavers were on that bigger section and where the concrete was. And then
that concrete doesn't look big enough to park a car on, like you said.
Yeah. So then the other one, did I not? I must not have put, hold on a second. Well, the other one it's showing where my car is sitting. I guess I didn't blow that up bigger, but it's the same thing where the pavers go from the driveway to the other side, and that's the smaller side. So, and then this is a picture of the fence. How horrendous, how terrible that we put this. By the way, my fence was finished before the 2 big hurricanes, like the 500-year hurricanes that made national news, Hurricane Ian and Hurricane Nicole. Yeah. And while every other property around me on Beachside who had vinyl fences, wood fences, you name it, had tons of pieces that were flying off and came off in the hurricanes, not a single piece broke off of our fence in those hurricanes.
It was built right.
Yep. So,
it just blows my mind that they think they can tell you what to do on your own property. I cannot comprehend that. I mean, it's just hard for me to overcome that thought.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the neighbor's fence that was put in without a permit. This was right after the hurricane, and you could tell that their fence is all messed up, but that's okay for the city. The city's not coming after them. The city's coming after our fence. This is the north side of the fence. So anyway, I wanted to show you this. I'm going to have to
They're targeting you for some reason.
Yeah.
It's very apparent.
So this is our property, right? And this is what they testified, that they would hold us to duplex setbacks. Yeah. Because the house used to be a duplex. So it's 25 feet in the back, 30 feet in the front, and 20 feet on the sides that you can't put any kind of structures, is what they're saying. So that would leave us with only 30% of our property that would be usable. How is that not a regulatory taking? Clearly, that makes no sense. Now, mind you, our property isn't even legally wide enough to be considered a duplex in the city of Ormond Beach. You have to have 100 foot of frontage, and ours has 88. So, they don't like facts and figures. But anyway, this one shows even if you applied the single family setbacks, it's 8 on one side, 12 on the other, with 25 foot in the back, 25 foot in the front. It still shows that is virtually half. It's more than half of our property. They're leaving us with only 46% of our property to use.
Wow.
Even if they went with a standard that they're saying is too small, like they're saying, no, you got to go with the higher standard. Even so, I mean, it's just crazy. I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, that was it. But I had to show you because it shows the ridiculousness. I mean, especially this one. It's like, how can you guys even think that that's acceptable. The green is my house, by the way, in case that wasn't obvious.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a picture's worth 1,000 words. I'm so glad that we looked at this because now I understand more. In my head, it makes more sense, but it still doesn't make sense because, I mean, what they're doing to you makes absolutely no sense. And it's like most things that the government does. It doesn't make sense. And I mean, it's just ridiculous what they're doing. They're obviously targeting you. And I'm just curious as why they're harassing you like this. But it's obvious that they're targeting you. And I'm just blown away by this. I had no idea it was this bad.
If people watch this and they're like, you know what, we feel like we want to do something, by all means, they should contact City Hall, the city attorney's office, the building department in Ormond Beach. It's Ormond Beach, Florida. By all means, contact them, email them, call them, let them know that by targeting us and literally trying to make it impossible for us to meet all their conflicting requirements that they want to impose on us, it's not okay. And all we've been trying to do is make our property to the point where we can park our vehicles lawfully on here, and we can, you know, and it's not like it's a junkyard. You saw the pictures of where we were parked.
It looks very nice to me.
Yeah. And so every neighbor that is stopped, except for the one nasty lady that complained to the city, she made up a bunch of stuff talking about how we violated the HOA rules. We don't even have an HOA. So anyway, a bunch of stuff, except for her. Every single neighbor that is stopped by, the people will come out of their way and say, we don't normally walk directly by this house, but we had to stop because you've just done such a phenomenal job. It looks amazing. It looks way better than it did before. We haven't even gotten to the point of doing the obvious of like painting the front of the house or anything like that. I mean, we still need to do those kinds of things, but we're just cleaning it up. And it was just full of weeds and sand spurs. We don't have irrigation. We live beachside. We literally have sand for yard. So
you don't have time to get anything else done. The city is consuming all your time with this garbage that they're putting you all through. This would drive a normal person insane. I don't understand. It blows my mind that you're able to deal with this. It would drive me crazy. I know it would.
So if anybody wants to get involved that way, all the I have nothing to hide, you know, so all the documents are on our website. I did take down the version of the petition that has the pictures right in the brief, because that's not the final version they docketed. So if you go to my website, restorefreedomkh.com/OB-case, then you can see all the documents that have been filed in this case. But scroll down a little bit and you'll see where I filed the petition and the appendix, and the document I have on the screen here is the appendix. So it's, you know, my daughter asked me, Mom, what is an appendix? And I said, well, it's the collection of all the evidence. So it's got pictures, it's got charts, it's got, you know, the transcripts from the hearing, all kinds of stuff. It's all the old documents and all the evidence that led us to this point in this court.
So if people want to help, are you like trying to raise, can people donate if they would want to donate? I mean, that was one of my questions and you kind of already answered it. But how can people help if people want to help?
Yeah. So donating, if you go to that part of the website, restorefreedomkh.com/OB-case, I actually have a spot right on there to be able to donate specifically to this cause, because it's like a different pool of money. I try to keep things separated and organized. And so that would be awesome, because we're out thousands of dollars already.
And not in the time. The time is irreplaceable.
Yeah, that's not time. That's not the time that I've had away from my kids or my husband, because I'm sitting here day after day after day, 14-hour, like in this last appeal, getting this petition done, 14-hour days, 12 to 14-hour days every single day to get this thing done. And then all these other motions and things I've had to file since then. And now they have this new hearing coming up, and we literally have stuff pending with the magistrate, with the circuit court, and with the Court of Appeals, all three courts at the same time. So wow. It's not covering the time. It's just covering the literal out-of-pocket cost. And so there's a link on there to the what is it? It's not GoFundMe. It's Give, Send, Go is the link for that. And so that's still out there. It's still active. If anybody just wants to donate just in general to, make sure I can continue to keep my website up with resources and examples, because all these documents are on there also, so people can have them and see how to use them to defend their own properties or in their own fight, for freedom. So if people want to help and donate in that way, our website, there's a page for donations, restorefreedomkh.com/donate. But you could just go to our website. It should be self-explanatory. There's also a search bar. You could type in donate or Ormond Beach or whatever, and you'll get to any of these pages as well. But the biggest thing on the Ormond Beach case would be to contact the city attorney's office and city hall and let them know that what they're doing to us, the Henrys, is not okay. Singling us out and trying to impose all these conflicting ordinances and violating our due process rights, all of it's not okay. So email them, call them, have your grandma and your friend and your cousin and your neighbor email and call them. Let's let them know that the American people are watching and they can't be doing this to us or others.
Yeah. And if you're into praying, say a prayer too.
Oh, yes, please do that.
So, one last question, because we're coming up on an hour and I don't want to make it too long because people don't like clicking on really long videos. But what's the next steps as far as the court? What are your hopes for the next court hearings? What's next? What's the next step? And what are we looking like on that?
So I am trying to make sure I keep that website up to date. So as new documents come out, I'm trying to make sure that I get those on there and you guys can follow the case in real time. And for a lot of them, I'll also, the bigger ones that people would better understand, I try to do a post and shoot that out on our social media as well as on the website. There's an updates tab. That's where I have all things posted. So follow that to keep in the loop from day to day. But right now, Friday is when the city's response in our Court of Appeals case is due. And then I have 10 days from that to file a reply. That's a much shorter thing to address any of the issues that they are bringing up. In the meantime, I'm anticipating that some steps might be taken then at the Court of Appeals level. But in the meantime, I've also asked the circuit court to issue a stay on the fines and fees for now, because she unpaused that on March 4th of this year. And then at the same time, then in the magistrate level, I'm waiting for them to acknowledge my motion for costs to get my costs reimbursed by the city for the filing fees for the first round of appeals, as well as we have that May 20th is when they've set it for another hearing for fines and liens. So that's where we're at. All of it, like you said, I need prayer for all of it.
Absolutely.
I need, if people have 5, 10, 50, 500, whatever, $1,000 to donate towards this, anything would be helpful. And definitely reaching out to the city and letting them know this is not okay. We need to stand together. We need to let the initial people, not just the appellate attorneys, but let the city attorney's office, let the city commission of Ormond Beach, let them know what they're doing is not okay. They shouldn't be doing this to me. They shouldn't be doing this to other people. And if you have 99% of other properties in the entire area that have similar things going on or worse, why would you think it's okay to single out and go after one family? I mean, it's not.
That's the real question right there. That's what's on my mind. Why are they harassing you only? But dang it. Okay, so everything she just said, you guys, I'm going to put all the links in the description. I'll put the link to her website. I'll put the link to her, what is it? Go, Send, Go?
Give, Send, Go.
Give, Send, Go. I'll put the links to the Ormond Beach City Hall. All the links will be in the description. So you guys reach out and do what you need to do to help out. Is there anything you want to add to the finale of this? Because I think we're pretty much done with this, Catherine. What do you think? Any final thoughts, or did you say everything you wanted to say?
I guess if people are in the area on May 20th and they want to come to the magistrate hearing where they're going to reset fines and fees and all that, they need to hear of the gravity of the situation and what we've done. They need to hear that improving your property is a good thing and taking care of your property is a good thing. And you shouldn't be punished for doing everything you can to do both of those, as well as to try to do it within all their parameters that they have. So, City of Ormond Beach, City Council chambers or City Commission chambers, it's right now it's at 10 a.m. on May 20th, and we'll add it to our calendar as well on the website. So,
sounds good. All right, well, we'll end it right there, Catherine. Thanks for coming on. Send me any of the links or